Hello and all. This is Santosh from BTech AI Ideas, Hindustan Institute of Technology. Now I'm just going to discuss about a queue, which is one of a data structure. A queue is an abstract data type, somewhat similar to stack, which means it is similar to stack but add a little difference between the stack and the queue. Unlike stack, queue is open at both ends. One end is always used to insert a data and the other end is used to remove the data, which means in this picture we will learn this figures, which means the one end is always used to insert the data into the queue object, and the other end which is always used to get or remove the element, which means the data has to get out from the other end. Okay, see the operations in queue. There are two kinds of main operations in queue, which is enqueue and dequeue. Enqueue is an operation for adding the elements into the queue. Dequeue is an operation for removing the element into the queue. These are the basic operations which we can use it perform in queue. The full is which is used to check if the queue is full. The empty which is used to check if the queue is empty. Basic features of queue. Like stack, queue is also an ordered list of elements of similar data type. Similar data type, it is also an example which is like a array. But exceptions in this queue are we can only access the element at one end and remove the elements in the other end. Q is FIFO structure, which means first in, first out. Whenever which element is first inserted into the queue, that the same element has been executed out at the queue. Once a new element is inserted into the queue, all the elements inserted before the queue must be removed to remove the new element. Peak is also one of a function which is often used to return the value of the first element without dequeuing it. These are the basic features of a queue. How to access the elements into the queue. Let us consider this array is one of a set of a queue. Here the first element which we are adding, that is considered to be the head, and the last element which are we are emerging, that is considered to be the tail. Okay, sorry. Adding of the queue element is known as enqueue and the removing of the element is a dequeue. Whenever whenever the queue is empty, which is checked if there is an empty mean by using the check operations, then the first element we are adding into the queue. If we need to remove the element means, then the first element which we are adding that has to be removed on the queue. Okay. Applications of queue. There are several applications has to be undertaken under the queue. Task scheduling in operating system, data transferring network, communication, simultaneous of real world system, priority queue for event processing, queue for event processing, NQ. NQ, which means adding an element into the queue. Let me find out the features of NQ. Check if the queue is full. If the queue is full, produce overflow error or execute. It is also similar, guys. Whenever the queue is full, we can't able to insert any kind of element into the queue. Then it show the overflow error, then leads to exit. If the queue is not full, increment rear to point the next LMT space. Add the data element to the queue location where the rear is pointing, return the success. This is a similar operation has been undertaken by the DQ operations. DQ operation. Check if queue is empty. If the queue is empty means then produce underflow error. If the queue is not empty means then the other process has to be undertaken. If then again it check if the queue is not empty, access the data where front in pointing, increment front pointer to point to the next available data element and then return success. Let me simply explain the real life example of queue. Let us imagine a toll gate which is used in our day-to-day life. There is a only one way that has been used by a drivers to cross the toll gates, which means at the time only one vehicle can cross the toll gate. No more two or more vehicles has been crossed the toll gate. As a similar operation has been undertaken at the queue. And thanks.